prediction show. Steve Fry here with Dan Albano. We've been doing this ever since the warm days in August. We're doing this still in the cooler days of late October.
What?
We also compete with each other too, and Dan's got a one-game lead. He's got 74 right, 26 guesses wrong. I'm 73 and 27. Pretty good competition there, Dan. We're like the Trinity League of predictions.
Games. We keep battling. We still got the playoffs.
Yeah, we didn't do it through the playoffs?
Maybe. Why not?
All right, what the heck?
Maybe.
Playoffs? All right, Thursday. Let's look at the Thursday games first. Garden Grove League. Garden Grove versus Rancho Alamitos. Garden Grove in their familiar position of first place. Right. 3-0 in league. Rancho's tied with La Quinta at second at 2-1. Rancho's, I thought they were going to beat La Quinta last week. Right. I don't know why I thought that. I thought their defense was up to it, but La Quinta worked them pretty good. And I think Garden Grove's probably going to get a one-sided win in this one against Rancho.
Yeah, this is, Garden Grove got the big one, I think, last week.
Yeah.
So it's just about, maintaining this week and, keeping that, pedal on the metal. So I'm going with Argonauts.
The Golden West League, which you and I have enjoyed all season because we knew it was going to be close and tight and competitive, and indeed it is.
Absolutely.
Segerstrom at Westminster. Segerstrom's 2-1 in league. Westminster's 2-1 in league as well. They're in a three-way tie for second there with Orange is also with them. Santa Ana's in first at 3-0. And they're both 6-2 overall too. So records are right, standings are right, because these teams are close. I kind of went back and forth in this, but Westminster, I think they got a little advantage at quarterbacks with Melbon there, so I'm with the Lions and the home team also.
I got the Lions as well, and I've seen both these teams play, and I think it's going to be just like you said, Fryer. It's going to be a tight, competitive game. A lot of these games in the Golden West League have been coming down right to the end, and but I think the Lions do have a little bit more versatility, and they have a few more weapons as far as how they attack offensively, passing and run. So I'm going with Westminster in a close game, but should be a dandy.
Academy League. Korean Lutherans in first place at 2-0, but the usual Academy League champ, St. Margaret's, is right there at 1-0, 6-2 overall for St. Margaret's. Yeah. This game's at Irvine High on Friday. We're talking about our Friday games now.
Yeah.
Korean Lutheran, I've seen them play. They got a pretty good team.
Right.
But, St. Margaret's, what they're a loss started with the Bishop School, Grace Brethren, traditional small school powers. I'm going with the Tartans.
Yeah, and I'm going with
St. Margaret's.
I know we're I think we're agreeing on a lot this week. I'm going with the Tartans as well. I checked in with Ryan Cragen, who's going to be our player to watch this week, the fine receiver from the Tartans. He says Korean Lutheran usually gives St. Margaret's a tough game.
Yeah.
Traditionally this has kind of been one of their tougher games in the league, but St. Margaret's, I think, is the class of that Academy League this year, and I think they're going to get the W.
Empire League. This is a great league as well. Yeah. So many good teams this thing. Valencia's on top at 3-0. Tustin and Pacifica are tied at 2-1. Cypress is there as well. This game's at Garden Grove High on Friday. Tustin lost last week to Valencia. You and I both picked Tustin to win that game.
We did. Yeah.
Does this mean Tustin's shaky? I don't know, but I'm going Pacific because I like that playmaker quarterback of theirs. Jefferson, I think Pacifica is getting it back together again. They're going to win this game against Tustin.
Yeah, the Mariners look good, against Western. And they bounced back after that loss against that stunning loss of Cypress. And you wonder how this was a hard game for me to pick because I wonder how the Tillers are going to respond to their first loss.
Yes.
They're a proud program. Myron Miller's a great coach.
Yes. They
got Casey Carr, but that score was concerning for me against Valencia.
It was 35-10 or something?
Yeah, they just seemed like they never were in it, and I thought they would be. And I thought that was a good matchup for them in some regards. Another physical team that liked to run the ball like Valencia, but they were obviously the Tigers were much better. So I am going with Pacifica to keep it rolling and win that game.
Back to the Golden West League Friday night. Santa Ana against Orange at El Medina High School, Fred Kelly Stadium.
Yeah.
You're talking about how close these games are in this league. Last week, Orange 16, Segerstrom 15. Hey, there's a good example right there.
30 seconds left in the game. Go-ahead touchdown.
I didn't know what to make of this game. I really like Santa. I like the Saints. I like Macias. I like Coach Charlie. I like a lot of things about him. But I think Orange is maybe overall better, maybe better on defense right now. Panthers in another one of those 3-point, 6-point games.
Yeah. And I just was at Santa Ana yesterday working on a story on Damian Macias.
Yeah.
I mean, they got a big line. I talked to one of their linemen, Francisco Franco. Man, guy's 6'3", 330 pounds. I mean, that's what they have, and they have a good running game with Pacheco. I saw him yesterday. Macias plays defense, but I still think Orange is, they have that element of speed with Schmidt and Collins, and then I think Wilkinson is a two-way threat, and they can run it when they have to. Even though that running game, the running back they lost to injury really hurt them. They're not running it that great against Segerstrom. So it's going to be a tight game, but I'm picking the Panthers. It's like you said, it's going to come down to the wire.
Yeah, well, that's
you're right
awesome
on that one.
Woodbridge against University. This is a Pacific Coast League game. Pacific Coast League, Coronel Del Mar's got to go 5-0.
Exactly.
I think everybody kind of figures that out. Although they still have to play Woodbridge. Woodbridge is 6-2 overall, 3-0 in league. Uni is 1-2 in league. Woodbridge has won 6 in a row since losing opening season games to Cypress and Elmo. Couple good teams there.
Couple good teams, yeah, exactly.
The Nash guys and all that stuff. It's really a good team right now. Woodbridge is. I'm going with the Warriors of Woodbridge to win this game and go to 4-0 and set up a 4-0 final week of the game, final game of the week against Coronel Del Mar next week. So I'm going with Woody.
I concur with you, Steve Fire.
Thank
so they'll go to 7, win their 7 straight. Woodbridge win 7 straights, and we got something to play for. They got something to play for, and look forward to in Week 10.
Can I get a South Coast League call from Dan Albano? Because we're going to talk about the South Coast League. San Juan Hills against JSerra. I've seen both these teams play.
Okay.
I think this game's pretty gosh darn even. San Juan Hills gave it all they could against San Clemente, with San Clemente's so superior athletically, as there are to a lot of teams, so no shame there. But I like JSerra in this game. I like Peterson, the quarterback, and I think he gives them somewhat of an edge in this game. So I'm going with the Titans of JSerra to win this home game.
This was another one. You picked some good games to call this week. It's another tight one, and I think it's going to be tight. But I'm going to pick JSerra too. They played the toughest 2 teams in the South Coast already. They had to play Mission. They had to play San Clemente.
Yeah.
They've been waiting for these games. They're going to play against, San Juan and Tribuco. So I think the Titans get this victory.
Battle of the Bell, Fountain Valley against Edison, and for the first time in a while, we've got a good Battle of the Bell game. Fountain Valley 6-2 overall, 2-1 in league. Edison coming off a tough loss to Los Al last week, 5-3 and 2-1. This game's at Orange Coast College. It's going to be filled up. It's going to be loud. It's going to be fun, and it's going to be an Edison victory.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think Edison's, they're going to be so upset after losing, and getting rallied on by Los Al last week. They're going to be looking to bounce back. They probably read my article where, Los Al was celebrating this thing and bigger than their playoff wins last year, and they're going to be an upset group of Chargers. And but this is a great rivalry game. But I think Edison wins pretty decisively.
That's funny you said that. Those Edison guys walking out, while I was writing my story, walking to the bus, they could hear those Los Al guys in the parking lot cheering. So that probably didn't feel so good for those Edison cats. A lot of pride over there. Santa Margarita at JSerra. This is 2 in the county. JSerra versus 3 in the county. Santa Margarita. This is our game of the week as well. In league, JSerra is 2-1. Santa Margarita is 1-2. Santa Margarita had a great effort against Bosco last week. They lost by 2 points. I like Santa Margarita in this game, even though JSerra, but because Santa Margarita, in my personal rankings, I have ranked higher on my ballot in the top 10 media poll. I like Margarita. Man, it's going to be another one of those scratch and claw Trinity League battles, man. But I like the Eagles of Margarita to win this game, Dan.
As you've been saying, you have to trust your own rankings.
Yeah.
Trust your own rankings. And I'm also picking the Eagles. I mean, I think we're going to agree on every game this week. I saw JSerra last week. They did not play well against Mater Dei, but it was against Mater Dei, so you got to take that with a big grain of salt.
Sure.
But they are a little bit banged up. I think they lost their fullback, Chris Castillo, to an ankle injury. Who knows about Moonar McLean in this game? Some people think Santa Margarita should have won that game against Bosco.
Would that have been something?
That was they should have won. They were up 2 touchdowns in that game, but so they're probably got some unfinished business. This is big. I think it's for 3rd place in the league, and it's got to be for prime playoff improvements in your playoff draw.
Right.
You get 3rd in the Trinity, rather than if you're 4th, 5th, 6th, who knows what kind of draw you're going to get. Maybe you're going to get something pretty scary.
Yeah.
So I think Santa Margarita wins a shootout. I think it's going to be another high-scoring game.
Nobody wants to go play at Mission or at Chaminade or something like that. There's no way. Orange Lutheran, we're still in the Trinity League here. Orange Lutheran, 0-3 in league. Boy, do they need a league win, Dan.
They do.
But unfortunately, they're playing Mater Dei at Santa Ana Bowl on Friday. I think it's pretty easy to say Mater Dei's the favorite in this thing, right? So
got
we're both going with the Monarchs,
got the Monarchs. I think one interesting side note on this game is the matchup within the matchup in this one is watching. This is the best. The Mater Dei will face its best receiver all season is Kyle Ford. And Kyle Ford last year when he was at Servite, had a breakout game against those modern-day Monarchs where he had, almost 200 yards receiving, a couple long touchdowns. So this will be an interesting duel, and I think we'll see how Helinski and Kyle Ford hook up and see how modern-day responds to Kyle Ford. But I think the Monarchs you're going to roll, and Olu's going to have to go to avoid the offer in the Trinity League. It could come down to week 10, and they're going to fire see Santa Margarita.
All right, and finally our 11th and final game to talk about here is St. John Bosco against Servite at Cerritos College. Servite's 1-2 in league. Bosco is 2-1 in league with the only loss to Modern Day. Yeah. It would sort of be in Servite's personality to figure out a way to win this game. The whole brotherhood, conquer the mountain thing that they do so well at Servite historically.
Sure.
But Bosco's got all that gosh darn talent. They got some things going on here and there, playing a lot of sophomores and maybe some drama that we do or don't know about. But I'm still picking with Bosco just because they're athletic edge.
Well, Servite found in the Friars in that brotherhood, they found a way last week, right? 29-28, last second field goal to beat Olu. But I think this week, I don't think they find a way. But I think it's going to be a better game than last year. Do you remember the score of this game last year, Mr. Fryer?
I think it was like a 2-point game or something. What
no,
was
it was a 200-point game.
Oh.
It was 70-6 in favor of the Braves. Some certain reporter might have been calling for an upset.
Was that me?
No, it was me.
Oh.
And people on my internet friends, do not let me forget that one.
Oh, you know what? I have seen that on Twitter in the last few days. Yeah.
I've seen it for pretty much all Trinity League season. But
why don't people have memories like me and forget stuff real easy?
There's some great football fans because it's a great football area.
Your phone or mine, Dan?
That's a great area to. It's a great area in a Trinity League and a great area to pick games and follow this stuff. We're so blessed. So I think Bosco gets the victory. I think it could be a closer game. Where Bosco with the sophomore quarterback DJ, a lot of Devon Cooley's the only really senior receiver they have there. So I like that matchup of some talented young receivers at Bosco against the McDuffies and the Titus. And Irvin in the secondary with Servite. I think it could be a good matchup, but then, we'll see how the rest of the Servite defense holds up. But they've given up a lot of points this year. At least their first two games were pretty high scoring allowed. So it could be an interesting game. Servite defense against that young Bosco offense. Skill position wise, DJ the sophomore quarterback.
All right, well, that's what we think about the games, the 11 games that we're predicting on this week.
Agreement.
And I love you very much, but I don't like agreeing with you. I don't know why. I just don't like it. But that's what's going on. We're going to have a fun week of games this week. The weather's hot and the football's even hotter, so thanks for hanging out with us again here at OC Varsity.